Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geostrategic Pulse. Thank you for watching or listening to the podcast. A $400 million luxury jet from Qatar gifted to the United States and now set to become President Trump's new Air Force One. But is this an incredible deal for American taxpayers or one of the most controversial gifts ever accepted by a U.S. administration? Critics are calling it a national security risk. Supporters say it's a practical solution to years of delays and billions in cost overruns. So what's really going on? In this video, we'll break down the facts, the politics, the security concerns, and what this unprecedented move could mean for the future of the presidency. Before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and share this video if you enjoy in-depth geopolitical and defense analysis. And here's the question I want you to answer right now. Is Qatar's $400 million jet a smart bargain for America, or does it cross a line? Leave your opinion in the comments below. There are strong arguments on both sides, and I'd love to see where you stand. Let's get started.
Yeah, and it really is just this profound shift we are witnessing right now. I mean, we are looking at a fundamental redefinition of how the most recognizable symbol of American executive power is procured. We're moving away from decades of custom domestic engineering.
Right, stepping into entirely uncharted territory. And we need to emphasize for you guys that this isn't just a theoretical proposal sitting on a Pentagon desk anymore. This transition is happening immediately.
Exactly. I mean, if you've been following the recent news, you probably saw those images from this past Thursday. The president and his staff got back from a trip to France at, like 3 in the morning?
Yeah, 3 a.m. And almost as soon as the wheels touched down, White House officials like Stephen Chung started posting photos of that iconic 35-year-old Boeing 747.
Right. And Chung actually captioned his photo, "The Last Ride." So they are officially retiring the old guard, which is just a monumental moment in aviation history.
It really is. I mean, that airframe has been the workhorse of the presidency for decades, right? Carrying multiple administrations through all these global crises.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. But replacing it has turned into this logistical and financial nightmare of epic proportions. To understand why they are taking a donated jet from a foreign nation, you have to look at a spectacular failure of the original replacement plan.
Right, because if you're a taxpayer listening right now, you might be thinking, don't we already have a program to build a new Air Force One? And, well, we do.
We do, yeah.
Think of it like this. Imagine you've ordered a custom-built, fully armored luxury car from the factory. You picked out every single specification.
Right, but the factory just keeps pushing back the delivery date by years.
Exactly, and the price tag just keeps doubling.
Right.
Eventually, you still need a way to get to work, so you end up leasing a pre-owned, fully furnished luxury vehicle just to bridge the gap.
Because your custom model is stuck in factory purgatory.
Right. That's essentially what this bridge program is trying to solve.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. Though, the scale of the factory purgatory here is almost hard to comprehend. Back in 2017, the Air Force awarded this massive contract to Boeing.
To retrofit two 747s, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those were supposed to be the new permanent presidential aircraft, designated as the VC-25B. But retrofitting a commercial airliner into a flying military command center is, it's not just adding nicer seats.
Right, and I think that's where a lot of people get lost in the numbers. What actually goes into a retrofit that makes it so difficult and expensive?
Well, it requires essentially tearing the plane down to its bare metal skeleton. You have to rebuild it to survive a nuclear war.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have to install specialized shielding against electromagnetic pulses, or EMPs. That way the plane doesn't just fall out of the sky if a nuclear weapon is detonated in the atmosphere.
Right. And I imagine the wiring alone is a nightmare.
Oh, it's hundreds of miles of heavy, specialized wiring for secure, encrypted global communications. Plus, directed infrared countermeasures to blind incoming surface-to-air missiles.
So you're integrating all of these highly classified, incredibly heavy systems into a commercial airframe.
Exactly. Yeah. And that has led to massive supply chain issues and engineering bottlenecks.
Which brings us to the cost. The latest updates from the Government Accountability Office estimate that getting those original two Boeing 747s operational now exceeds $5.6 billion.
Which is just a colossal sum.
It's massive. And worse, the schedule has slipped so far that there's a very real possibility those custom planes won't even be ready before the end of the president's second term.
Right, and that harsh reality is what opened the door for this Qatari jet. The Pentagon accepted this donated Boeing 747 from Qatar on an incredibly accelerated schedule.
Right, because in May, Pentagon officials confirmed to lawmakers that the total cost to overhaul this donated plane has not exceeded $400 million.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so let's stop right there. You have a $5.6 billion price tag for the custom build versus less than $400 million to retrofit a donated jet.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, if you just look at the spreadsheet, supporters of this move have a very strong argument. It looks like pragmatic problem solving.
Sure, on paper it does.
But wait, I'm genuinely confused here. If the number one rule of Air Force One is secure command and control during a global crisis, how on earth are they doing a retrofit for under $400 million in just a few months?
Right, that's the big question.
Because you can't just slap an American flag on the tail and call it a military asset.
And you are hitting on the exact friction point that has military aviation experts so concerned right now. The defense contractor handling this refurbishment in Waco, Texas, is a company called L3 Harris.
And they specialize in complex command and control systems, right?
Yeah, they do. But they were given one overriding mandate by the Air Force, and that was speed. They had to field this aircraft faster than standard procurement would ever allow.
Right. So what did they do?
Well, to do that while retaining the existing security features, the Air Force made a very deliberate, controversial choice. They executed minimal interior changes.
So wait, are you saying they just left the Qatari luxury interior inside the plane?
For the most part, yeah. They retained what is known in the aviation industry as a head-of-state interior. Yeah. So this means the new plane does not have the traditional office and workspace-oriented design that you see on the current Air Force One.
Right, because the current plane is essentially a flying West Wing. It's designed for a massive staff of advisors, military aides, and press to actually conduct government business mid-flight.
Exactly. But this new one leans much heavier into luxury seating. It retains the sprawling leather lounge areas originally designed for the Qatari royal family.
Wait, really? They just kept the royal lounges?
They did. The priority was getting a secure airframe into the sky, not redesigning the floor plan for optimal staff workflow.
That is a massive operational shift. And it's not just the interior couches, right? Based on recent news, we know they cut some serious corners structurally to get this thing flying by this summer.
Oh, absolutely.
Like aviation photographer Travis Gormley captured night shots of this new jet in Waco. And while the new dark blue, red, gold, and white exterior looks striking, it's what's missing that stands out.
Right. Because every structural change to an airframe requires extensive engineering, structural testing, and FAA certification.
Which adds months and millions to any project.
Exactly. So to save both time and money, L3 Harris and the Air Force skipped several standard presidential modifications. For example, they did not widen the lower front or rear access doors.
Which might sound like a minor detail to the average person, but there's a very specific, somber reason those doors are wide on the traditional Air Force One.
Yeah, it is a deeply necessary requirement. Those doors are specifically sized to accommodate a presidential casket.
Right. It ensures that, in the event of a tragedy, the flagship executive aircraft can transport the commander-in-chief with the appropriate dignity.
And the necessary logistics. By skipping that modification, they have removed a core capability of the aircraft.
Wow. They also skipped floor height adjustments, which I imagine messes with the internal wiring pathways. But the one that really caught my eye is that they didn't install multiple sets of internal air stairs.
Right. That's a huge one.
I want to throw an analogy at you to see if I'm understanding this right. It feels like buying a top-of-the-line, ultra-expensive smartphone, but being told it can only connect to Wi-Fi, not cellular networks.
Oh, that is a brilliant way to frame it.
It looks great, it functions well at home, but its actual mobility in the real world is severely crippled.
Yeah, because it gets to the heart of the why. Why do air stairs matter so much? Because the President of the United States does not just fly to major international airports like Heathrow.
Right, they fly into highly austere airfields.
Exactly. Perhaps a remote military base in a conflict zone or a disaster relief staging area. In those environments, you cannot rely on local ground crews to provide a secure working staircase.
At least not one that meets Secret Service standards.
Exactly. Having built-in stairs gives the aircraft total autonomy. Without them, the logistical flexibility of the plane on the tarmac is drastically limited.
So what does this actually mean for the president's schedule? Can they just jump on this new plane tomorrow and fly to a G7 summit in Europe?
Well, that remains a significant point of operational uncertainty. The Air Force has stated that the Qatari jet has completed modification and flight testing.
But is it cleared for overseas trips?
It is entirely unclear if this aircraft is broadly cleared to fly the president on major overseas trips yet. The Presidential Airlift Group will have to evaluate the appropriate aircraft on a strict mission-by-mission basis.
Wow. So the logistics team basically has to look at the itinerary and say, can the bridge plane handle the security and infrastructure at this destination?
Right, or do we have to pull an older plane out of the hangar?
That sounds like a scheduling nightmare.
It really highlights the intense friction between wanting a shiny new aircraft immediately and the strict, unyielding functional requirements of the American presidency.
Because you cannot compromise on security, so you end up compromising on capability.
Precisely.
But, leaving the royal leather couches intact and skipping the air stairs is one thing. It brings up a much bigger, much more uncomfortable question. Who paid for those couches in the first place?
Right, we have to look at the geostrategic implications of this.
Because the physical plane is only half the story. The other half is the unprecedented nature of where this jet came from. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth formally accepted this $400 million aircraft as an unconditional donation to the Defense Department.
And that phrase, unconditional donation, is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
Yeah, for sure. Put yourself in the shoes of a foreign diplomat for a second. Imagine the optics of a foreign nation, even a strategic partner, handing over the literal symbol of American executive power.
Right. I mean, in the realm of international relations, the concept of an unconditional donation is heavily scrutinized, if not outright doubted.
Because Qatar is a fascinating player on the global stage.
They really are. They are a nation with immense sovereign wealth derived from natural gas, and they have historically used that wealth and their aviation sector to project soft power.
They make themselves indispensable to Western powers.
Yes, like by hosting military bases, for example. Qatar is a major non-NATO ally, and they host thousands of U.S. troops at Al Udeid Air Base.
Right, and supporters of this jet donation view it through that exact lens. They see it as a grand gesture of enduring partnership that practically bails the U.S. out of a massive procurement disaster.
Because to Qatar, a $400 million jet is a relatively small price to pay to cement an alliance.
But critics argue that the sheer magnitude of a gift like this inherently creates geopolitical leverage, or at the very least, the perception of influence.
And we are seeing an intense bipartisan reaction to this from the latest updates. It's not just one side complaining.
Right, both Democrats and Republicans are raising their eyebrows at the ethical and legal implications.
Exactly. To lay it out neutrally, you have some Democrats who are fiercely critical, with some going so far as to call the donation a bribe.
And their central argument really focuses on the use of taxpayer funds. They are asking why $400 million of U.S. money is being used to retrofit a plane that is essentially just a temporary fix.
Right, because it's only going to serve the remainder of this current presidential term.
Which brings us to the most controversial twist in this entire saga. If this is just a bridge program, what happens to the bridge when the term is over?
Right. What is the final destination for this aircraft?
This is where my jaw genuinely dropped when looking through the recent news. Once this president's tenure ends, this jet is expected to be gifted to Trump's presidential library.
Yeah, that's the plan.
In fact, AI-generated renderings have already been released for the library project, and they prominently feature a massive, newly painted jumbo jet sitting right in the lobby.
Let's analyze that from a geopolitical lens, because the precedent it sets is staggering.
It really is.
You have a foreign state donating a $400 million flagship asset. Then the American taxpayers fund a $400 million security retrofit so the asset can be utilized for a few years.
And then it is transitioned out of the military fleet and into a private presidential monument.
Exactly.
It's the old saying, right? There is no such thing as a free lunch, or in this case, a free luxury jumbo jet.
Right. Because when a foreign power effectively subsidizes a tool of the American presidency and subsequently subsidizes a future presidential monument, it severely complicates the optics of diplomatic independence.
And national security professionals worry deeply about this blurring of lines.
We are mixing statecraft, defense procurement, and personal legacy in a way the United States simply has not navigated before in the modern era.
It really forces us to redefine how we view international partnerships. I mean, moving from shared defense treaties to the literal gifting of sovereign symbols feels like a completely new era of diplomacy.
It absolutely does. And the Defense Department is now on the hook for the maintenance of this donated foreign asset until it is eventually decommissioned to that library.
And the upkeep alone will be a fascinating footnote in military spending.
Oh, for sure. But, we won't have to wait long to see this play out visually.
No, we won't. The immediate future of this jet is right around the corner. We are closely watching where this new plane will take its first official flight.
Yeah, that's going to be something to see.
The latest info suggests that a potential trip is being eyed for Mount Rushmore in early July.
Right, for the 250th anniversary.
Exactly, for the massive fireworks display celebrating America's founding. Now, while that specific trip isn't totally finalized yet, just picture that rollout.
Oh, the visuals would be
You
insane.
have this brand new dark blue, red, and gold livery gleaming against the backdrop of Mount Rushmore on America's 250th birthday.
The visual messaging of that event would be undeniable. I mean, it perfectly encapsulates the dual nature of this entire story.
How so?
Well, you have a profound celebration of American milestones, independence, and domestic legacy. But the vessel delivering the president to that celebration was born from a highly complex, modern geopolitical transaction.
Right, a transaction with a Middle Eastern monarchy, it really does sum it all up.
It really does.
Which brings me to a final thought for you to ponder as we wrap up today's deep dive. We started by talking about the transition from the old Air Force One to this new bridge plane and the billions of dollars involved.
Right.
But I want you to think about what that plane represents on the global stage. If the most recognizable symbol of the American presidency, the literal flying fortress of the commander-in-chief, is now an unconditional donation from a foreign power, does that redefine how global allies and adversaries view the independence of the office itself?
It is a question that historians, diplomats, and taxpayers will be dissecting for decades to come.
Thank you all for listening and watching today. Make sure to check out our other podcasts for more deep dives into the geopolitics shaping our world. See you in the next one.